Hello neighbors, it's Brad here, eTrailer, and today we're going to take a look at the Sumo Springs helper springs for the rear of our 2018 Ford Transit T350. These helper springs are going to be a good addition to your vehicle if you are towing heavy loads, whether you put a bike rack on the back or a cargo rack, or you're carrying extra passengers or a trailer. These are really going to come into play to reduce the amount of sag on the vehicle. It also has progressive load control, so if you're carrying a little bit of weight or a lot of weight, it's going to adjust accordingly. So it's going to absorb a lot of your bumps and shocks while driving, and especially while having a load. Now, these are resistant to temperatures from -25 to 200, so it's going to cover just about every temperature range that you should see on the road. It also resists damage to oils, so salts for wintertime driving, and also UV. They're maintenance free, so once they're installed, which is also a no drill install, you shouldn't have any problems with these. So putting up the original one next to the new helper springs shows that you do have quite a bit of extra spring to work with, so it's going to make contact sooner and also be progressive to really absorb it better with a higher rating of weight. So we're going to run this through our test course to get a before footage of what our current helper springs look like, and then we're going to get an after. So I think we can do a little bit better. So after the install, let's take a look and run this through the test course again and see the difference. So after driving on the test course, I did notice that the suspension in the rear felt more refreshed. It felt a little firmer, but in a good firm. It took a little bit of the slop away, especially over our bumps. So overall, even without a load on this van itself, it was noticeable. So we're going to begin by taking some measurements. So while your vehicle is on the ground and it's compressed, you're going to measure from the top of the frame to this contact pad on the axle. So that's going to put us at 6.5 inches. So keep that measurement in mind, and we're going to use spacers to adjust accordingly. So we got our measurement on our vehicle and it's 6.5 inches. Now it's important to check your specific vehicle because it could vary from what we have, even though it's the same model. So what we're trying to accomplish is creating a distance that is within 1/2 inch to 1 inch of our measurement. Now you have your spring here and these washers must be used, so take those into account. In the kit, you also will see they include spacers to accomplish that 1/2 inch to 1 inch gap. So let's get our measurement here. So we're just shy of, I would say it's about 5 1/4, 5 3/8. So I am gonna have to use a small spacer. So with this, let's take a measurement. And that puts us at about 5 5/8 roughly. And so with that, that should put us right in that sweet spot. So in order to gain access to our springs, you are going to have to raise the vehicle up. So if you're on flat ground, make sure that your wheels are chocked and you have a jack firmly secured, and I would suggest maybe getting some jack stands. We have transmission stands here to kind of offset that. So I'm going to go ahead and raise this up, and then we can pull that spring out. Pull your original jump spring off, give it a twisting motion, and you may have to work at it for a little bit, but it should pop out. Yes. So we got this side off. You're going to want to go ahead and do the other side. Again, it may take some twisting and maybe a pry bar to get it out, but it will pop out. So we're going to take a 13mm socket and we're going to take off our cup here. All right. So our existing hardware was this bolt here. Since we're adding a spacer, we're going to take a look at the supplied hardware and see which ones match up based on the added space. So this one seems to account for it. There's also a longer one if you use a larger spacer. But you're going to add just a little bit of the supplied thread lock and drop this in place. You can then put your washer and your spacer. So we're going to feed the bolt into the factory hole where the cup was. Now I'm using a deep well socket so it's narrow enough to fit in there. And as I was trying to tighten, I was having issues with the bolt head dropping in. So I just grab a few extra bolts to add as a spacer. And that's going to keep that bolt in place as I feed it in. So it may be a little tricky as far as space, so I'm going to feed my socket up there first with a small extension, and now I can tighten it down. So now you're going to want to get your torque wrench and set it to the manufacturer recommendation in the instruction manual. And then we'll feed this back in the conjunction that we did. So you have it installed, you're ready to lower your vehicle back down, take your jack stands and your wheel chocks out and give it a shot. That's going to do it for a look at the Sumo Springs helper springs on our 2018 Ford Transit T350. Thanks for watching.